Hello and welcome to Vibe. We're going to start off with photography. I met up with Manchester-based photographer Lauren Clarissa and we had a chat about her career and her love of taking pictures.
I've always loved art. Did art at GCSE, art at A-level, and I just feel like I've always had a camera all my life. So since I was 5, had my first little yellow Kodak.
Do you remember with that little camera what you were taking pictures of?
We used to go on school trips all the time, and I'd always have a camera on me, and I used to take pictures of like the animals on the farm, or me and my friends, things like that, which you wouldn't really expect someone to do at that age, but I just loved having my camera all the time. And that excitement, getting them developed and seeing, if it actually came out or not, it's quite exciting.
Did this all come quite naturally to you?
So my dad's always videoed us. We've always had like home movies, which we've got on VHS at home. My godfather has always taken pictures as well. So I feel like maybe I got a bit inspired by both of them growing up.
Do you remember then when you decided to make photography your career, what your first paid job was?
I think it was going to a gig and taking pictures and then writing about the artists and then submitting the pictures. And I did that, I think it was called Purple Revolver or something like that. Yeah.
Did they make it big?
I don't think they did. But it was just, going to those smaller gigs and up-and-coming artists and stuff like that. I think that was like the first proper thing.
So you talked about doing some work with musicians. Have you worked with any recently?
Yeah, quite recently. So I had my opening ceremony in February, and I had a couple of performers, live performers. There was a guy called Jay Faith, and Gozy and Donna Blackwood, who's amazing. I've recently just done a shoot with them, so Jay Faith and Donna Blackwood have got a song out at the moment. So we did a really cool shoot in the studio.
There's so much to treasure forever, but now it's over. After all that we've been through, I still have so much love for you.
So you photograph lots of different genres, you do loads of different types of work. Is there one area that you get most excited about?
I think I get most excited about doing creative shoots and fashion shoots, and I like making outfits and inventing things and working with makeup artists and all that kind of stuff, because it takes me back to the art side and creating the overall image as like an art image. I love doing that.
I just wonder, are there any photographers that you look up to or that inspire you?
The main person I just love is Tim Walker.
I knew you were going to say that.
I just love him because he's got that Tim Burton edge, which, as I love Tim Burton as well, but I love, the scale of his work, the props. I went to see one of his exhibitions at Somerset House in London, and they had the actual half an aeroplane and giant swan boats and all these kind of things that he's used in his work, and it was just amazing.
And you can really see some of that in your work. It's fantastic. You can see that influence. Is there a shoot that you've done that you can think of as one of your favourite pieces of work?
Well, I really love the one I did in Belvoir Castle. So it's a castle which they've actually used as a film set for The Crown. And that was just working with like a couple of models, stylists, hair and makeup. And the actual building is just incredible. But it's quite amazing because the family actually still live in that castle, but they just let people come in. And one of the rooms was used for Buckingham Palace, and it's a gilded room which is gold from head to toe, and it was just like staring at it like, wow.
So you went back to when you were 5 and you started shooting on your little yellow Kodak camera. And then we've moved forward to you now as a professional photographer, full-time, making it work with a really successful career. And has there been a moment where you've been on a shoot and thought, yes, this is fantastic, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, I've made it?
When you get work published, it's amazing. Recently I had an editorial published in Malvi French magazine, which was really cool, because it wasn't meant to be a high fashion shoot. It was quite just being creative, really. And yeah, the images turned out really amazing, really, really good. And the model I used, she actually sent some of her images to Miss England, the Miss England competition. So she actually got to the semi-finals with that. So that was really cool.
It's been so nice to chat to you, Lauren. Thank you so much for welcoming us into your studio today, and we'll be keeping an eye on your career very closely, and wish you all the best for the future.
Oh, thank you so much.
Shirley May is a Manchester-based poet and a member of the Speakeasy Collective. She's performed here in the Northwest, but also in New York and Jamaica. Denise managed to catch up with her for a little chat.
In her suitcase was the love she nurtured for this place she called home. Stories of Duppy Dog who walked grandmother from Spanish Town to Bagwalk, warning her of a stranger man on the same road home, whilst telling us little children how she didn't want to encounter a rolling calf.
So Shirley, what inspired you to become a writer and a performer?
Well, I didn't ever think I was a writer. I left school with hardly any GCSEs and had to go onto a college called Abraham Moss and actually try and get enough qualifications to go to the local polytechnic. And I used to think actually I was very stupid because I was an undiagnosed dyslexic, and yeah, so writing was not something that I would ever have thought that I would have done. My mum and dad owned their own business in Manchester, and we all worked in my parents' shop, so I was really practical. I learnt to sew at 9, so I actually entered the realms of fashion and design. I was good at drawing and fashion, so that's where my heart laid. And so I went down the fashion line, so because it would be practical, something I could do with my hands, and I didn't have to worry about reading because I really struggled to read. So when I did start to read really well, of course, I went to an all-girls school, and my sister used to read Mills and Boons, and so I started reading Mills and Boons books and dreaming of a dark, handsome man that was going to come and save me.
We all. Me too.
So I was dreaming of this dark, handsome man that was going to come and save me, but that is the beginning of me developing my reading. And then, of course, getting into the Polytechnic, I had to be able to read the assignments and do the. It was always a struggle. It was never easy, but yeah. And one of the questions is, I think it was like almost like a 2-part, 3-part question, is how did I get into it? Well, I discovered Maya Angelou, who's an American poet, and she had a poem that was called "And Still I Rise," and another one called "Phenomenal Woman," and another one called "The Caged Bird Sings," and many more. And I started to follow her work. And one time I was working in my basement of my house, because that's where my studio was, and I came up with the idea of a poem, but I never voiced it or anything like that. And then, in actual fact, I've just told an untruth, because I actually fell asleep and woke up with a little ditty on my mind, and it was, "The heart is the organ that should encounter. The heart is the organ that encounters pain. The place that also peace should reign. It's the place that a mother hears a child's cry, and the father wants to stand up and provide. The heart is the organ that encounters pain. It's also the place where peace should reign." And I woke up with that on my mind, and I was like, oh, I need a pen, and wrote it down. I have a friend actually that used to come to this church called Flo Wilson, and she's an actress. And I went, have a look at these. And so she became my critical friend, and she went, I think they're really good. And she introduced me to Common Word. All of us came on the Windrush,
My mother once told me that in her old age, she travelled to England first class, ate at the captain's table, and danced with Sidney Poitier on a ship called the Queen Mary. She said that dreaming was not just the pursuit of the young. I want to remind you, value your time. It runs away with your life.
Can you tell me about how you came about setting up Young Identity, the conception, the idea behind it?
I set it up because I was asked to do a poetry slam with some young people in 2006. And I worked with a group of young people from Powerhouse in Moss Side, where I was working as a homework manager. I was managing a district of library homework centres. And I worked with some young people to do this poetry slam. And they went off to Warwickshire University. They won Best Lyrical Line. And I went, bye. And they went, I'm going to meet you here every week. And that's what happened for 10 years.
Can I just be a little bit ignorant and ask what a poetry slam is? Because it sounds like something you do in basketball. I mean.
Well, it's what we would say, and there's a young guy that I work with quite a lot called Rhys Williams. He says it's figure skating. It's like figure skating for poets. So you are getting points for poetry. And so the best poem, content and style of delivery is marked out of 10. And then you have a final winner at the end of a night of maybe 10 people performing against each other.
So does your performance vary from venue to venue? Say if you're playing a venue that has a predominantly black audience or a venue that's predominantly white, do you vary your performance to adjust to the crowd?
I used to. I don't anymore. Well, years ago, I used to look at my audience and think, oh my God, they're all white, so I'm not going to do that poem. Or, oh my God, they're all black, so I'm going to do this poem. And I remember having a mentor from Common Word that was called Martin DeMello. And Martin said to me, I feel like you write for your audience when you should be writing and performing for yourself. And so now I choose my set according to what I want to perform on a night, rather than look at the audience and say, oh, they're this or they're that. I just perform what I feel intuitively is going to work on that night. It might be that I've recently launched an album called Rainfall that I did with Busherman Productions, Clive Hunt, and Mix Rups is the record label that I am, a guy called Johnny J. And when I do that, that's very prescribed. It's what is on the album that I perform. But mainly when I'm doing a set, which I've done here in this building, I choose the ones that I like.
Blood, blues bleeding into bold women, speaking and singing songs of doo-wop, breathing metallic mustard gas, burning your insides, only seeing on the outside a dead smile, while recklessly dancing to music appropriated from ancestral rites.
Have you ever been heckled, and if so, how would you or did you react?
So, I've not been heckled much. Somebody who's got nerves of steel like I have, if someone's going to heckle me, I'm going to actually create a poem right there and then on stage, you know, and that's what I tend to do, you know. Hopefully I won't be mean. I have done some poetry slam and some, I once did this hip hop slam against poetry. You know, hip hop can be brutal when you're doing a hip hop challenge or battle. So that's probably always in the back of my head that I got mashed up on stage one time. So if someone's heckling me, you know, it might be that I say, oh, I see a Nubian prince before me, behaving like the very worst. So I will come up with something that will address that situation.
So how do you compare your current work to your work when you first started off? How has it evolved over the number of years?
I think it has progressed. It has changed greatly from what it was when I first started with Common Word. And, you know, I spoke to you about working with my friend, and she was my critical friend at the work. So I think it's changed from them, and It's got to have done. I've read a lot more. I've done a lot more. And I wouldn't say that I have a particular style of poetry. So I'm not writing just haikus or cinquains or sonnets, but I can write them all because I've learned the form of how to write them. I still very much write in free form because I was a performance poet, and so that's how I write. And then I work backwards with the work to see how it might look on the page, and then I might add a form to the work. So if I've written something in free form, then I might change it into a sonnet, which is, you know, in the iambic pentameter. It's 14 lines long, and it's got an A-B, can't remember the whole formula off the top of my head, but I'll write a sonnet, or I'll write a haiku, which is all about syllables. So although it might be a free fall when I write it, when I come to put it and craft it for a book, I'm looking to make it work on the page as well as the performance.
How do you see the future for yourself and Young Identity?
Well, I've always wanted to work with Young Identity to a place where it has legs and it can stand without me as the founder. So I don't want to be one of these founders that can't let go. And so I hope now that it's a national portfolio and we have put things into place where some of the staff are not freelance, that kind of stuff, that actually it's a viable project or a viable company, charity, because that's what we are, that it'll go long after I've been involved in it. And yeah, I do hope that I could concentrate on my own work and spend some time actually developing some of the stories that I've got, because I was saying that I have an iPhone and it's got lots of titles in it, and I've got 2 or 3 poems under each title, but I really need to get that new book, because I have a book that's called She Wrote Her Own Eulogy. I wrote it a few years ago. I feel it's time for a new one. So yeah, I think that Young Identity will stand long after me. I hope it will. And I'm going to go off into the sunset and write books.
But not just yet.
But not just yet.
I'll leave you now with a music video by Bobby Hanzo and the track Alive and Be. Until next time, goodbye.
It's taking me time to try and find something to watch on Netflix. Indecisive times, too much to choose for breakfast, bound to lose your preference. I'ma soon forget it. Sit in a room of silence and consume a sentence. I'm watching pretenders that watching EastEnders. Press space and enter. Message back the sender. Forget the dementia. Your acts and mentions, you're lacking mentors. Let me grab that paper or pencil. Sit on the table and mental. Write what I meant to if I meant to. I keep myself to myself, and sometimes that's bad for your health. Should see the family a bit more, but that's sometimes bad for my health. Trying to find a balance in my life, cause this side's been bad for my health. It's like a man living in hell, and that shit's been bad for my health. I ain't been myself, I just been locked up in my citadel. Surfing on the internet, hurting and not feeling well. Need to eat a meal, order from the pizzeria. I don't need these L's, but no, I need to feel for real. Cause recently I've been struggling to sleep at night. So many things on my mind, it's hard to keep it quiet. I just been sitting there quiet, trying to figure out life. Take a few more hits, dry my eyes. She don't speak, but she make me speak my mind. She just sit there silent, with that loud ass silence. Start the conversation off, then start replying. Yo, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? Yeah, it's getting dark outside, world in those darker times. Life hurts in these harder times. Fight to survive like half the time. No 5 in a 9 to 5. You feel alive but dying until the sky defines. Feel like your eyes will shine until it's time to rise from the fires and